Hey, my name is Naokai and I'm here with Alex, who's been working in grassroots Counter-Strike for the last 40 seasons in ESEA League. Do you want to give us a quick background about who you are and how you got started?
Yeah, absolutely. And thanks a lot for sitting down with us. I can't wait to explain some of these changes because League's been so huge in my life. About 15 years ago, I was a Counter-Strike Source player on a, let's say, Tier 5 UK team. But I really found my calling in Season 13. And for reference, that was back when Device was playing his first Open season.
Wow.
So it's crazy to see how far we've come. Back then, I think I've got a screenshot of when we had 100 players online, and I was like, wow, will it grow any bigger? Like, is that even possible? I had no idea.
We've made it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I mean, right now in EU Open, we've got more teams than every single division combined back then. So I'm really looking forward to this next chapter and see how many people can we get to try real Counter-Strike.
That's actually really impressive. And to sort of have seen all of that history across the years is pretty awesome, right? So we've obviously recently saw ESEA League announce the new entry division and pulling 2,500 ELO plus players and teams out of EU Open. Can you talk us through adding that and why you've gone for it?
Absolutely. But before we get into EU entry, I think I would zoom out for just a sec and think, what is the actual point of League? Now, we've got guys like Rops or Zaiwu start in the bottom divisions and work their way to the top. But ultimately, I think if they were playing an open qualifier or any other kind of qualification, they would still rise to the top. Stars are going to shine no matter where they play. But I think where our value really lies from League is by better balancing the divisions, just because it allows everyone to experience kind of high pressure official matches, recreating their favorite pro team strategy, but realistically at a skill level that is appropriate to them. They're not just getting smashed by tier 2 teams, they're getting experience against someone they can actually win against.
I've got my fair share of memories of getting smashed by tier 2 teams in my first few open seasons, so I feel it there. So kind of what you're trying to tell me is that ESEA, it sort of wants to be a little bit more like Sunday or like recreational league that basically anybody can take part in, not just the top tier professionals.
Exactly. Now, being 100% honest, it's not one for everyone. You've got to want something a little bit more serious. So I'll be completely honest, if you're just looking to mess around, I'm not going to recommend League and you don't need to give us your money. League is about being invested. You've taken the time to subscribe and pay your fee. You've scheduled your matches. You've taken the time to prepare. Maybe you've practiced and built strategies. You're trying to see is how far you can go. The people who really get the most out of it are those who are, maybe they're bored of just endless face-it games of they queue, then they play, and then, you know, lose fast and carry on. They want something a little bit more. They want something that goes on their permanent record and shows this is how good I am as a team player. And then on the other side, maybe you're a little bit more like me. Maybe you're a bit older, you're struggling to get the group back together. And this would allow you a way to just say like, hey, listen, we're committing to Wednesday. We need to be on and play our match.
Yeah, okay, that makes a lot of sense. So is this sort of why you've been then separating the new open divisions?
Yeah, exactly. So if we roll back a few seasons ago, we were thinking about balance in the open division and how can we make even more kind of exciting and sweaty games. And the challenge is that there's kind of two buckets of players in open. You've got people who they're just taking their first step into league play for the first time. And then on the other side, maybe you've got a ex-tier 4 player group that they're starting to rebuild their team. They've got new team members, they didn't have a slot, and they're starting to build their way back up. So what we wanted to do was test this open 10 structure by just saying, does your team have 5 level 10s? They do. Okay, we put you into the open 10 structure. And then that way they can play for prize money, promotion, more serious opportunities. Meanwhile, they're giving a space for, if you're slightly below that skill level, you can try to build the good habits of scheduling, learning what League is about, trying against other teams, but realistically against weaker people that you might actually win against. Now, granted, we're not trying to force anyone to play a bunch of matchmaking. Appreciate that League play is ultimately totally different from matchmaking. So we still had off-season cups where you could promote to advance and so on, and teams could ultimately just pick at the end of the day. If you're an open 9 and you said, listen, this is a waste of my time, I'm a really good player, we can just move you to open 10. And with that change, we had about 10% less stomps in open. And about 50% of players that were between level 1 to 8 rated League as 9 out of 10 or higher. So we're super confident that this was the right move to go down.
It's pretty significant, especially for a fellow, level 1 to 8. I think I can feel the vibes there. So tell me, how's it been going since you've implemented that?
So last season, in season 52, we were trying to address the balance a little bit in Open 9. Because let's say you have 4 players that are 3,000 elo, and then you have 1 level 9. Okay, Open 9 probably isn't the best place for you. Probably the difference between that level 9 and level 10 would not be sufficient to have 4 players that are super strong for level 10s. So for those types of teams, we're trying to move them a little bit to Open 10 by moving to the averages. And this season's ultimately not over at the time of this recording anyway, so we'll see how it pans out. But there's still clearly so much more to do if we want to try and get the community involved. Right now we have about 1,000 teams in EU Open and 250 in Intermediate. So we felt now was an appropriate time to try this new division and just see if it could create a more balanced experience.
Okay, so how does it actually make my life better than if I am in Open?
Sure, so let's say you played Open last season, you made the playoffs, but then ultimately you lost your playoff match. Before, you would just go back to the Open division and then play someone who was trying League for the first time. As we said, matchmaking isn't team play at the end of the day. So if you've got a full Open season under your belt, we're quite confident you're going to do better next season, and then maybe you're making it to Intermediate and beyond. So with this new Entry division, we're taking those teams that before would just play Open, and we're moving them to Entry instead, so they can play better people right away, people who have a bit more experience, and also those that are looking more promising just based on their FACEIT matchmaking numbers. So the same number of teams will move to Advanced and Main as before, but for the teams that wouldn't be promoted, they're now getting this new experience. We're also adding 16 slots and free qualifiers in the next couple of weeks. So if you're not into matchmaking, you can still just earn a slot in Entry. And then finally, for Open teams that register but have above 2,500 elo, we'll just pull them out of Open and move them to Entry, so that way they can get a more competitive first start. Now granted, this isn't the perfect kind of gauge with elo, but I think it's a better approximation than just putting everyone in Open and then just seeing who gets bored and who can continue their journey.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Well, thank you very much for sitting down with me and sort of explaining to myself and to everyone out there sort of what Open's all about.
No, definitely, and I hope this has helped some teams understand the new system and hopefully get ready for registration closing on the 2nd of April.